If you don't ride in the wet in Scotland, you don't ride your bike at all. So I'm seeing every single thing she does leading up to that race run, and yet she still smokes me by every single week in, week out. That was quite a big challenge to get used to, being smoked every weekend by your teammate. Like, I actually never sat an exam in school because of COVID. So I had 2 years. 2 years of basically just riding bikes rather than being in school. And it was actually such a big turning point in my riding. I was doing my homework. My phone pinged, FMG Racing started following, and I was just like...
All right, folks, welcome to the Downtime Podcast. This week, we're joined by Phoebe Gale. She grew up in Scotland, got signed young, climbed through the juniors, and now she's working her way through the elite ranks. But results, inconsistent, the highs are high, but the lows hit hard. And racing alongside Tahnée Seagrave, that's pressure, that's expectation. Now, Phoebe's figuring it out, learning, finding her own path, and ready to step into the spotlight. If you're enjoying the podcast, please hit the like button down there and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps us keep bringing you these episodes each week. All right, on with the show. Phoebe Gale, welcome to the Downtime Podcast. How's things?
Good, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, first ever podcast.
It is. I know, nerve-wracking. Hopefully I can do a good enough job.
We'll try and make it easy for you. First off, how's the wrist? Because you've been through a bit with that, eh?
Yeah, it's been actually a bit of a long process. My first proper injury, I want to say, like the one that's taken me the most time off the bike. So it's getting there. Had the cast off now for 2 or 3 weeks, back moving it again and doing some physio with it. Hopefully riding bikes soon. I'm actually going on a road bike camp next week, so get some proper miles back in. But yeah, hopefully not too long until big bikes. It's been pretty tough, to be honest.
Was it scaphoid?
Yeah, scaphoid. So it's a bit of like a niggly one, and it can really struggle to get blood flow. So taking its time to heal and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Have you done anything like interesting on nutrition or any of that stuff? You've been supping bone broth or any of that crazy stuff?
Not really. I've been heavy on the calcium tablets and vitamin D, try and get it strong. Apart from that, I have actually been trying to eat really well recently. Yeah. I think just going through injury and not riding a bike as much and wanting to feel good, I think it's definitely worked. I've been feeling really good, and yeah, it's something trying a bit different.
Yeah. Where was that? Was that in Mexico?
Yeah.
Did you go to, was it Trans-Sierra Norte you went to?
Yeah, trip of a lifetime. That was like definitely worth it for the broken wrist. But 15 minutes into a stage, and I'm used to doing about 3 minutes, was pretty savage. And I actually just tucked the front on a dusty corner and put a hand like really slow crash. Yeah. It's always the ones that you never think nothing's gonna come off that get you. And I kind of like, it's really hard to know if I'd broken it or not at the start. And I actually rode for 2 or 3 days after it. It wasn't too bad, and then I got home and I was like, nah, this is not too good, and got an x-ray and it was broken. But yeah, that trip was insane and definitely worth it for the wrist. But yeah,
amazing. And like, are you struggling? Like, you're an athlete, you're active all the time. I would assume you ride a lot. You seem to be the kind of person that has a lot of bike skills and enjoys riding a bike. Like, how have you dealt with being inactive?
It's been actually quite tough, yeah. Like, definitely been more of a mental challenge than I thought it'd be.
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone to ride a bike almost every day, for sure. I'm out all the time, especially in the winter, because we have such a good community, and it's kind of like the only thing we do in winter because it's like cold and wet in Scotland, and you're either in the house drying out after riding or riding, and that's sort of it. So yeah, dealing with that's been like just like a bit harder than I thought it'd be, but I've got so many good people around me, and I'm kind of like thought it would come at some point, like an injury take me out, and it's kind of good to know that I can get through it and test myself in a different kind of way. So yeah, there's definitely loads of pros and cons, but
that's cool. You found a positive sort of take 100%. On that mental side of things.
And I've like picked up new hobbies and found ways around not having bikes in my life, which I think's been cool because I've relied on bikes so much for the last like 10, 15 years. Like, it's been my main like way of having fun and freedom, and yeah, to be able to find different hobbies and new activities to keep my mind busy has been cool.
Any new hobbies that you think will stick?
got a bit into the running. It's
Really?
Running is savage. It's really hard sport.
Yeah, it's super hard.
Like really hard.
Yeah.
And but there's something about like getting over the first 10-15 minutes of absolute hell, like the worst pain. I just hate it. And then after that, for some reason, like you kind of start enjoying it and go up into the hills. Sometimes a bit of a walk run, like because it's that difficult, but.
Yeah.
Like take the dog out, walk up some hills, run up a little bit. And
Nice. And it's simple too, right? Pair of trainers, off you go. It's not like you've got a bike and a load of faff afterwards when you get home.
Literally.
No cleaning really. Like throw the trainers in the corner and away you go.
Power wash them when they get back in the boiler room and go the next day. Like it's so easy compared to like a 2-hour cleanup after a mountain bike ride in the winters. Yeah, it's a bit different, but I'm not sure. I think it's good for fitness, and I think I've been feeling good after them. But I think once the bikes are back in my life, it won't be too long until we take over again.
Yeah, so back on the big bike soon, and it's going to be a new big bike, right?
Yeah.
What can you tell us? You've seen the bike, yeah?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't really say too much on it yet. I think it's all, it's all going to be released soon, and I'm really excited. I'm very excited.
It's a big change, right? You've been on FMD and on Canyon since you were 16, I think?
Yeah.
Which is a long time. How old are you now?
I'm 20 now.
20, right?
Yeah.
So 4 years, same bike, same setup.
Yeah.
And admittedly, you're keeping some stuff and some componentry, but it's going to be a really interesting change, eh?
100%. I think I've got so comfortable. Yeah, around 4 years on the same bike, I think is really rare in the first place. Even if you're on the same brand for 4 years, there's usually an update or a fresh frame to like switch it up and try out and get used to a new frame, whereas being on the exact same frame for 4 years is actually quite rare. So I've got weirdly comfortable doing that, and I think it'd be really good for me to switch it up completely. Brand new brand, brand new bike. It's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Orbea obviously changed there. Have you been out to HQ already?
Have, yeah.
How was it? Like, it's a brand that I don't know a huge amount about. Like, what's your impression so far?
So when I first heard of Orbea, I've kind of known about them a fair bit. My mechanic owns a bike shop, and they do a lot with Orbea. They sell them through the bike shop. So I've seen a lot of bikes of Orbea's, but going out to HQ was super interesting. I really enjoyed it. I've never actually been to a factory where the bikes have been made, and just watching them and the way they do it is super interesting. It's such a community feel to it, really family based, which is nice, like coming from FMD Racing where we're really family based and super close knit team. So going to a brand like Orbea, which is very community based as well, has been really cool. There's so much history there. Like the history of Orbea is super interesting. They've actually been around for so long. They used to make guns, and they've I think the gun industry kind of plummeted a little bit, and they were like, what can we make out of the similar materials, and bikes was the answer.
Wow.
And been around for so long, and it's learning all the history of them and the way they go around things, designing bikes is really impressive, and I'm stoked to ride for a brand.
Awesome.
Stash Space Rails is the ultimate way to store your bikes. You can get more bikes into less space. It's really easy to fit, it's really easy to use, get to whatever bike you want exactly when you need it. Downtime viewers get 10% off their entire order by heading to stashproducts.co.uk/downtime and using the code downtime, all in capitals, at the checkout. Upgrade your bike storage today.
And you've got a busy week this week. You've got a lot of testing coming up. You said you've got a road camp towards the end of the week. What are you up to in the next couple of days? Are you able to talk about that at all?
Yeah. So we've got testing. So like fitness testing. So I'm not actually too sure exactly what we'll be doing, but I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty painful, whatever it is. Kilmurray's, my coach Chris Kilmurray's flying out to Wales to come meet us all and put us through some pain. So I'm actually excited for it though. It's been the first time we've all got together properly. Well, the one that I've been involved in this year. So yeah.
Cool. Have you done much fitness testing like that in the past with the team, or?
Yeah, I've done a fair bit. Not as maybe as prestigious as this.
Okay.
I've done some stuff with Red Bull in Austria. That was cool. And then I've done some stuff last year, but it wasn't as this one sounds like it's going to be quite scientific and cool. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Do you have any fear about like the numbers and stuff? Obviously, you've had some time away, hard to maintain fitness. Like, if you saw a number and it didn't stack up to what you were hoping for, does that dent your confidence?
Good question. No, And I think weirdly I'm kind of confident because I've spent so many hours getting bored on a watt bike recently. I've been like kind of in getting my head down in the garage. So I'm kind of excited to see the numbers weirdly.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm in a good place to do some testing. And it's kind of cool because we do it now and then we might end up doing it pre-season. And
Okay.
I love numbers. Like I'm a big numbers person. And like on the watt bike, I'm just like always trying to get the exact numbers that Chris will set me. And yeah, I do really enjoy it. So it's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. And at this time of year, is it like a lot of zone 2 kind of slow, steady stuff, or are you already starting to bring in more intensity and sprints and that work into your training?
Yeah, we are like doing
Okay.
a fair bit of intervals.
Yeah.
Recently I'm still doing a lot of endurance. So like certain days we'll have long endurance and then some parts of the week will be into intervals. I actually did my first sprint session 2 days ago. So slowly going into a bit more sprints. In my head, I want to be as ready as I can be for getting back on the bike because as soon as I can ride my big bike again, I want it to be my main priority, and trying like cram in as much riding as possible to feel as ready as I can for the season. So doing all this now is making me more confident for coming back on the bike. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my process at the moment.
And will you head off somewhere warm, or are you so comfortable in the Scottish winter that you're just happy to smash out laps, whatever the weather?
Bit of both, I'm thinking. I do love it at home, and yeah, I feel the most comfortable, I think, at home on the downhill bike, especially getting back into it again.
Yeah, and you've got a baseline there. I guess you know what feels fast. Like
100%.
Yeah.
Riding with the same people I always ride with, you can tell if you're the pace you were before or not. But at the same time, I would definitely want to go ride some longer tracks, faster tracks. We struggle for the World Cup pace at home. Tracks with like wide enough and tracks you can fully let off on. And we struggle with that from where I live. So
bit of travel. Well, let's talk about how we got to this point, right? You were born down south, I think, Gloucester.
Yeah.
And moved up to Scotland pretty young. Do you remember the move?
A little bit, yeah. I remember chucking the chicken house in the back of Mum's truck and driving it up the M6. But apart from like little bits, and I remember living in Gloucester. We used to live on a farm, and my dad on a dairy farm, and my dad worked on a dairy farm. So I remember bits and bobs from riding bikes around the steading and feeding calves and whatnot. But I was about 5 years old when we moved up, so it's all a bit blurred now. But yeah.
Yeah, and when you moved up, your mum went to work full time, I think, and your dad sort of was like lead parent, I guess, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that had an impact? Because I think both your parents were into riding, right? But definitely your dad had done a little bit of racing, like Mega Avalanche and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mum's a vet, so she went straight into like full time vet. That's kind of the main reason we moved up, because she found a job up there and wanted a bit of a switch of life, I think. And Dad was coming from a dairy farm. I think he was like struggling to kind of find a job that fitted. So he had a load of part-time jobs. Like I think he worked in the bike shop at some point. He worked on other farms with the sheep and stuff. He's found a full-time job now. And it didn't take him long, only like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
But even in that 6 months, like, yeah, we'd always be out on bikes. And yeah, he definitely had an influence on kind of the way me and my sister grew up. Always been pretty outdoorsy, into animals, into the woods, kind of like that. Yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed my childhood, for sure.
And you were lucky, I guess, in that the Innerleithen Kids Club wasn't too far away, and I think you got into that at a fairly young age. That seems to have been like a pretty formative step for quite a few fast riders, right?
100%, yeah. So I think I basically grew up in a little village, and in that village was a group of boys that used to ride bikes all the time, and they used to go to this club called Kick, which is still running now. It's in Innerleithen. It's amazing. It's like every Sunday morning, groups of kids out, and yeah, it's amazing. And I just joined the club, and it kind of kick-started me doing riding a bit more seriously, and maybe becoming more of my favourite hobby. And yeah, and we go out every Sunday, learn new skills, and then racing kind of became part of that.
Okay, through the club?
Yeah. So there used to be mini downhills in Innerleithen and A Forest all around. And yeah, they would kind of go to these races, so I'd go along with the team as well. And yeah, just kind of learn how to race.
Sweet. Do you remember your first downhill race? I think you'd have been, what, 11?
Yeah. I think I'd done a cross-country race when I
Okay.
was about 9 years old, just a school's one.
Yeah.
And can't remember loving it. I've never been back then I was never a big lover for climbing. So, yeah, I remember doing that, but it was never something I was super stoked on. I mean, me and Downhills came about and I kind of remember them. Like, the first one I did was actually like 20 minutes from my house now. We still ride there now. And just took my hardtail up and it's like probably 2 of us in the category and hardly any girls used to race. So it was more just a fun thing.
Yeah.
But I still remember getting really competitive about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. The red mist comes down as soon as you're in the start gate.
100%. Yeah.
Madness. And yeah, you had that like awesome scene up there, which I think still exists to some extent. There's a lot of racing and opportunities to race downhill in that part of the world, which is really cool. And it, you know, didn't take long for you to start working out some things and getting quicker, and you seem to be, you know, chipping away doing a lot of racing. You went to your first national in 2018, I think, Fort William, was it?
Yeah.
That's a big track for your first national race. That must have been, well, how did it feel?
I think I'd ridden there once before with my dad. And I was just blown away with how long the track was. I think I can remember. I think it took me 8.5 minutes in my
Whoa.
first national to get down the hill, which is like kind of insane. Now thinking about it, I don't know how I held on for that long. I don't think I can do that now. Well, obviously can't. That's why I broke my wrist. But yeah, that track was definitely something that was like opened my eyes to how gnarly downhill was. It's quite a bit different from the tracks I was riding at home. But yeah, this is the same kind of buzz. There's a really good group of girls racing, maybe like just 20 of us. Everyone was always older than me, but they were always super chilled and chatted to me, and didn't make it feel like it was such a big deal. And me and my dad actually raced, and we would just go along and
Wicked.
have a good time.
Yeah, nice family weekend out. Yeah,
exactly.
And you carried on. Obviously, you got stuck into some more nationals. I think you took your first national win the following year in Riola.
Yeah.
Which again is a pretty gnarly track.
Yeah, that was gnarly. I had a good battle that year with Tia Jensen. Yeah. And I remember I was so competitive with her. It was insane. Now thinking back, it was like every week came down to like me versus her almost. And yeah, I think that was definitely something I'm really grateful for. Having always, my whole childhood, I've had this another girl that was faster than me all the way up till now. Like, I've never had a really winning streak. Like, I've always had a girl that's faster than me.
Yeah.
There might have been like a couple of months where I've had a winning streak, but apart from that, it's been like...
You've always been chasing,
I've always felt like I was a chaser, and I think because as well, back then, there was like maybe 4 girls under 19, so they'd put all the girls into one category, and so I always was kind of younger in the category, and so I always had an older girl to chase, which I think I'm really grateful now. Back then it was definitely like every weekend getting like angry and angrier because I'm not winning, but yeah, that Riola win was really nice, really cool.
Yeah.
And just me and my dad again, and it meant a lot, you know, like to get a national win on Riola, which is, yeah, as you said, a really gnarly track. So yeah, it was cool.
And were you starting to get like aspirations that there could be a career in this at that point? Like, you've won a national, you're having some decent success, you're obviously enjoying it. Was there any thought like that this could be a job?
I guess it's really mad because my whole childhood I've had this weird sort of, not a weird, but like kind of an obsession with becoming a professional athlete of some sort.
So it didn't have to be bikes.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, like, I was so sporty as a kid that I would try my best in any sport, and I'd do my best to be like, try and be the best at any sport. It definitely wasn't the best at every sport, but I would try my absolute hardest to be the best. And I've always just loved the lifestyle of an athlete.
Okay.
And just been kind of like obsessed with it and wanted my life to look like that. So I think when biking I started getting better and better results in biking, it was kind of like I think it became, like I was like, this is a sport that it could happen in, you know? And that was like definitely a big driving force for it. So yeah, that was kind of maybe a click around that time.
Yeah.
That this could be something that I would want to be.
Could help you get that dream kind of position that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're getting this momentum, starting to get some belief in it. And then 2020, the world all went a bit crazy and COVID hit. But it sounds like you're in a pretty good spot to get locked down, right?
100%. Yeah. Lockdown was actually crazy because I was still in school. Funny enough, I actually never sat an exam in school because of COVID. So I had 2 years. 2 years of basically just riding bikes rather than being in school. And it was actually such a big turning point in my riding. I can see, like, even looking back at old clips, riding every day in lockdown changed, like, the way I was riding and for the better.
Yeah.
Because that was the year before World Cup. So for me, I was going from first year youth to first year junior. And that was... The year in between was lockdown.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can to see the massive change in riding and riding every day there really benefited me. So in a weird way, I'm really grateful for lockdown. Obviously no racing in that year, but just being able to ride every day was just really beneficial.
And you're, like, I guess kind of not in the middle of nowhere, but you can get away with riding with your mates and stuff still, and like having a bit of a crew and buzzing off each other.
I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but I'm guessing we are. But we used to, there's maybe like 3 of us in the little village. It's such a small village, but we would just go out one at a time so no one could see us going out together. And then meet like half a kilometre down the road at, I guess, bridge, and then ride to the riding spot because we could ride from the house. It was that good. And just like sneakily get away around COVID. You can decide if you want to put that in or not, but
it's all good.
I'm pretty sure it'll be all right. I can't really get arrested now.
I think it's a bit, we're past the moment. So yeah, big progress through COVID then. It was a good time for you by the sounds of it. Yeah. And like you say, 2021 would have been your like step up year, I guess. So you're at home. And I think it was the first thing that happened, like FMD followed you on Instagram or something, which is a pretty cool thing, even for me. But like as a young adult, like who's into riding, to see that, and then you got was it an email from Tony? Yeah,
it's crazy. Like I was mind blown. I was doing my homework. My phone pinged. FMD Racing started following, and I was just like, at this point, I probably had maybe like 800 followers. So like for that, there was a massive moment. You know, I was over the moon. It was kind of like a point where I was like, wow, like this is cool. And yeah, I showed mum and dad and was absolutely buzzing. And then got an email like maybe a couple of days later being like, hey, this is Tony. We're like sorting out the team for next year and I'd love if you gave me a call, and just put his number in the email. And I couldn't call him. My nerves were just through the roof. And he actually ended up calling me. I don't know how he got my number. I think through the bike shop, or I don't know. There was like...
He tracked you down.
There was quite a lot of people involved in getting me to in contact with FMD, which is cool. I think Rory Cunningham...
I was going to ask, like, do you know how Tony sort of found out about you and all of that side?
I'm pretty sure he went through Rory Cunningham, because I had a coaching session with him when I was maybe like 14 in Leithen. And Tony must have asked Rory, do you know of any like girls coming up that could be really good for the team and a good fit? And I think Rory mentioned my name, so thank you, Rory,
Fair play.
for that. Yeah. And that's kind of how I got into contact, because I'd never ever spoken to Tahnée or Tony in my life. Like it wasn't through friends, or like it was a complete random contact, you know. There was no sort of build up to it. It was out of the blue. So yeah.
Was that a no-brainer for you to say yes to, I would assume?
100%, yeah. Me and Dad were actually planning to race a couple World Cups, not all of them, just maybe 1 or 2. I think Maribor was one of them, and just to kind of see how they were going to be and see if I could do any well at them. But as soon as I got the message from Tony, signed it as soon as possible, and we actually had to sign it within a couple of days because it was really late. And you know how the teams have to register all the riders.
Yeah.
It was in those last few days, so quick decision, but it didn't take long.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a hard decision to make. You say you hadn't spoken to Tahnée before, but you had a selfie with her, right, in Fort William 2017.
Big fan moment, yeah. Yeah, she must have been just like messing around in the car park, and I just remember walking over to her and just being like, can I have a photo? I'm really, really nervous. And yeah, it's kind of cool that I've got that now. I'm happy I actually took that photo.
It's cool, yeah. So how did it feel then to go from like idolising this person to being in a team with them? Because I think I saw in a video Tahnée saying she normally gets to sign off on the team kind of signings, or like has some visibility of it, but I think Tony signed you and then told Tahnée, and she was like, I'm not sure I'm going to like this person. Like, how was it stepping into that environment? Because it has been, from the female side at least, it's been Tahnée's world for so long.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't know that Tahnée didn't know I was signed until like a few months down the line when everything was good. It was actually huge. I actually remember saying, like, I was surprised that FMD signed another girl, because it's Tahnée's team. Like, the team was made for Tahnée. It's been, you know, our whole journey's been through the team, and it would make sense if it wouldn't. In my head, it didn't make sense to sign another girl, because the whole point is it's about Tahnée. So she's a driving force for the team. So stepping into that was, I remember meeting them for the first time and just being so nervous. It was in Revolution Bike Park, and me and my mechanic Angus, we just turned up, and the whole drive down I was so nervous. But now looking back, it's been amazing, and having that person to look up to the whole time has been incredible. But definitely at the start, it was a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah, I bet it was. Fair play. It's fair to say you two have become pretty good friends now, eh? You're pretty tight. Yeah,
she's my best mate. Like, it's actually pretty wild to think about how close we are now. And I think just, this click, everything. Like, I've never had a mate as close as I am with Tahnée, so it's really cool to have that and have someone that we go through so many highs and lows in racing together. So it's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have a feel for why you get on so well? I guess one of the elements is that not many people live the life that you guys live, right?
And it's just we understand what each other go through as well. It's such an emotional sport, and to know that someone else can go through the same thing that you are. I think I really, really value having Tahnée to sort of learn off, and that's kind of been a big reason why I'm so like grateful for her. And I think the more, like, she's gone through a concussion, and I tried to be there as much as possible, and I think that's kind of brought us closer. I'm not exactly sure why we get on so well. I think we just do. Like, there's nothing that she does that, you know, never gets on my nerves, or like really a couple of things. But it just works, you know, and just get along really well.
Yeah, it's really cool, because it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, right, to compete alongside someone. But I guess certainly when you joined the team and you started getting to know each other, you were in as a junior. Do you think that helped that you weren't directly in competition straight away?
100%. I don't think it would have worked if I went in as an elite. Well, maybe not as well as it has done. I think the going in as a junior and being really naive and not knowing a lot has definitely made the relationship a lot easier. Because I've sort of worked my way up to where I am now. It's not been like straight into elite, and you know, it's been a process. It's not just you go in as a junior and you're at the bottom of the ranks, you know. You do the washing up after every single meal. We had Dennis on the team, and Dan was a junior, so we used to have a rule that, you know, juniors wash up after every meal. So, you know, you start at the bottom, and I think that's kind of, it's been really good. Yeah.
And obviously, like, that relationship has matured and changed, right? So not only have you stepped up into elite, but also, like, Tahnée's been through this big challenge. Like, I think when you joined the team, she had a lot of injury woes, and then obviously the concussion, and she's had the sort of the big comeback year, I guess, last year. How has the relationship changed? Because you are effectively going head to head now, which you weren't initially, but the last season, I would say, is the first season where you've been properly, up against each other.
I wouldn't say the relationship's changed as much. I think we've just kind of grown, I think, and learned how to deal with each other's sort of how each other react on a race weekend. So it's kind of become easier. But yeah, Tahnée's been through such a journey that last year was definitely the first year I've seen that version of her, and that was quite a big challenge to get used to, being smoked every weekend by your teammate. Like, and I've said it to so many people, like, because me and Tahnée are so close, we share bedrooms at a race weekend. We eat at the exact same time. We're eating the same foods. We warm up together. We ride together. I'm seeing every single thing she does leading up to that race run, and yet she still smokes me by every single week in, week out. And that for me at the start was quite hard to get my head around because I didn't understand why I couldn't do what she was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to experience, speed. Like it's not as easy as
she's got a lot more years under her belt, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely hard to get used to. But at the same time, it only drove me to become more serious and want more out of myself.
Almost good though to have like a competitor that you want to be so close to you, because if they're in another team, you don't know what they're eating, you don't know what riding they're doing and when they're going to bed, and you've got all the information. Like you can basically try and recreate or a version of that recipe, I guess, that works for you.
100%. I think exactly right. You can't, the way Tahnée does things isn't necessarily the right way it works for me. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what she's doing, because we're completely different racers as well, and riders. Like we're so different in that aspect. So as frustrating as it might be, it's definitely doesn't, I have to make my own decisions at the end of the day for me to get the best out of myself. It's hard. Like I'm still learning. I think that's why I haven't got the best answers. Like I'm still figuring out the ways that I like racing and what gets the best out of me every weekend. And Tahnée's influence has definitely helped me get to where I am now. But I think now I'm starting to learn what I want and how I want to do things. And I'm in that process now. So maybe in a couple of years I'll have the answers. But
that's good.
We're learning.
Yeah, working it out. You say the team was kind of built around Tahnée, which is fair. That's the reason the team exists in the first place, I guess. And the media spotlight, I guess, with the team as well is also on Tahnée, despite there being other riders there, all of good caliber. How has it been kind of being in Tahnée's shadow a little bit? Is that a challenge?
Yes and no. I think in a way it's really benefited me. I've been able to get on with my own journey and not have as much pressure. I think she's taken a lot of the pressure off me. I had that year when she had the concussion where I was at one point I was the only racer on the team.
Yeah, true.
So everyone else was injured, and I think that I realised that this is actually a lot of pressure when you're the only one. You've got a whole setup and you're the only rider. So yeah, having her in my limelight's definitely taken a bit of pressure off me, and I've been able to learn and sort of like in the shadow, which has been really good. I think the downside is you don't get the limelight, and I think a lot of people just see me as Tahnée's protege, and to a point I'm like, that's fine, and
it's worse people to learn from.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I am, and I really do, like, I've appreciated it, but at some point it would be good to kind of step out of that, but I think I've got to get results first. So
well, they've been coming for sure. Do you think it's more important these days for athletes to get their kind of personality out there and be something beyond their results? Like I think 10 years ago results were enough, right? You could make a good living off that, but it feels like that's changing a little bit.
100%. I think the ways that sponsorship works now and making a career out of it, you really need that extra bit to make it go far, as we've seen with Tahnée. And they've got, it's almost like a brand. You've got your own, your personality and is your brand, and you can really like make that work for you. So it doesn't matter how your race results go, at the end of the day you're going to have something to back that up. And racing's, as we've seen, I've not ridden a bike for 4 months, that could happen in the middle of a season, and you need something to almost back that up now and make you worth make brands want to sponsor you and stuff. So having that and being able to branch out and become my own person is super important.
Yeah, how do you think about doing that then? Because it's not necessarily the most straightforward thing to do. I think for some people it's natural, right? There are certain people that love to be in front of a camera. They're always sharing stuff on Instagram. It's just natural for them. If that doesn't come naturally, like, I'm not saying it doesn't for you, but I'm guessing you're closer to that end of that spectrum. Like, how do you think about doing more in that area? Like, what's your take on it? Because it's not easy.
No, yeah, I'm definitely someone not to be really open about my emotions, and I think that's one way you can get your personality across, is be really open on Instagram. But I'm not that kind of person. I'm quite closed off, and I never really show what's going on. So maybe that's something that I could start doing. I think I've tried to just let my riding do my talking a lot, and I really like that way. But I think that is maybe a reason why no one really knows who I am in a way. I think how I roles really help with that.
Yeah.
I'd love to do more film projects and do videos. I love filming and getting clips. I absolutely love it.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Doing podcasts.
Yeah, true.
Life stories, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You said before we went on that like you're so used to being in a helmet, which kind of is like a bit of a safety barrier almost. Like you can just, like you say, you can let the bike ride and do the talking, and it's very different when someone takes that helmet away and points a camera at you, right?
100%. You're under like a barrier when you've got your helmet on. You're protected from the outside world. No, your riding is like you. Whereas as soon as you're sat down and talking about stuff, you're yourself. And that side of me I do really enjoy as well, though. And I think I really enjoy learning about other people's lives. So maybe I should get more involved in that as well.
Yeah, and I think maybe FMD is quite a good grounding in all that, right? You're one of the more media heavy teams, so you might not have the external media shoving a camera in your face every 5 minutes like Tahnée does, which will come when the results come, like you say, but you've had that practice of sitting down in front of a camera, being interviewed, doing clips and stuff, and having people there all weekend. So maybe it won't be so much of a shock for you when all the rest of the media arrive at the pits wanting to speak to you rather than Tahnée maybe on a weekend.
Might still be a bit of a shock, but yeah. No, 100%. I'm really grateful for FMD for doing that, and they are very good with their media, and I've learnt a lot. I've got a manager as well, like an athlete manager who's separate from Tony, and he's definitely been helping me a lot, branching out and becoming my own person. So that's really helped me as well.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about your junior career. Who are your main competitors as you see it, like through those couple of seasons? I
had some really good competitors. So I had Isabella Yankova and Jenna Hastings, Gracie Hemstreet, which they're all still incredible riders. Like I had such a good competitive years, and I think that's really benefited me now as well. Yeah,
riders that are all, well, unfortunately Isabella stepped away, I think, after some unfortunate incidents. But yeah, definitely like some strong riders in that group, and it's going to be good to see Jenna back this year as well. How do you reflect on your junior career now? I think you were second in the overall both seasons, but had some good results and wins in there. Like, how do you feel looking back, 2 years into elite, when you reflect on your junior career?
I'm really happy with it. I think I really did use my junior years to learn, both good and bad. I think I had a bit of like I can't tell you how much of a roller coaster those 2 years were. I think from joining FMD and having 2 years of just absolute chaos was it was actually amazing. I loved those years so much. I absolutely loved them, and I learned so much. It was incredible. I'm really grateful for those 2 years. I've learned so much about competitiveness, about myself, about racing, and racing at the top. It was amazing. But definitely kind of came away with no world champion jersey, no overall title.
Does that hurt, or
a little bit? Yeah, it does sting. I think I can't really be, you can't regret anything. And, both the years I had both world champs years, I completely messed up the whole race week. And maybe that's the reason why, I like what I learned from and stuff like that. But there is definitely a bit of like bitterness from that. And maybe it makes me have more drive now to try and prove to myself that I can be world champion and stuff like that. And I think it would have been nice to have that as like a memory, and as like well done, your junior years were good, whereas I haven't really got anything to show for it, because I had some performances I'm really happy with in junior, and don't really have much to show from it going like world champs jersey overall wise. But I'm happy with those years.
Where did the chaos come from? Was that purely you, or like
yeah
okay
well, the first year I think I was on hospital like 3 races, got a helicopter trip.
Just overriding, or?
Yeah, and just being a junior. I think there's a stigma, and I was that perfect junior example, especially in my first year. Just absolutely chaotic and just, overriding, just sending it for way too hard for my ability-wise. But sometimes it paid off,
Yeah.
Got some wins along the way, but
where was that overriding coming from? What was it? A pressure that you put on yourself? Did you feel a pressure to deliver for the team? Was it just being young and like YOLOing things, or?
Big mixture, I reckon.
Okay.
I think I do put a lot of pressure on myself, 100%, and I do expect a lot from myself. And once I won my second World Cup, and once you've done it, you expect it from yourself week in, week out, and that's not necessarily the best thing, and you can almost because you want to do that week in, week out, you can definitely override and want to prove to yourself, whereas if you just settle down a little bit and really try and take it as a process, as Chris would say, you can definitely become a bit more less chaotic and a bit more steady, but yeah, the roller coaster was fun.
That you learn on these things. Yeah, we should talk about Chris. How has it been having Chris Gilmurray on the team? Because not only is he like a physical coach, but he's also like lines guys on the track for you, running up and down the hill with endless energy all weekend long. Like, it feels like it must be a good addition to the squad, someone good to have in your camp.
100%. I love having Chris around. He's definitely one of the people I lean on the most in the team. I don't know how I get through a race weekend without him now. It's kind of annoying. I have to have him around wherever I go now. He's going to have to come with me. So, but he's such a big benefit. I'm super appreciative for him. He's one of the busiest people I know on a race weekend.
I don't know how he gets it all done.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I think he runs up hills like 3 or 4 times a day, up and down. He must be so knackered by the end of the week. But he works so hard and really gets the best out of us for a weekend. Whether it's just going through lines at the end of the day, he calms me down. He's super good for warming up. The consistency is amazing. Every single week, turns up, helps me get the job done, and it's amazing to have someone like that in my corner. Yeah.
Are you the sort of person, like, how do you handle that lines input? Some people like to ride, like to work things out themselves. Some people like to just be told. Like, what's your stance on lines and how you work with Chris on that?
I think I am someone to work it out myself. I do I'm kind of also bad for finding a line and that'll be it for the rest of the week. Even if it's like one that could be faster, I'm so bad for being like, no, this is the line I'm on, and being a bit stubborn with that.
I'm the same.
Something I would love to be better at is just like being able to just change the line like that and be comfortable with it. I find myself sort of getting too comfortable too early sometimes, maybe.
Yeah.
But I do definitely lean on Chris, and he spots things that I might not have spotted, or looking through in the evenings, he can point things out. But yeah, I do use Chris as much as possible. I'm in contact with him after every single run. He'll send videos through, and it's super helpful.
Yeah, it's cool. It's amazing how much information's coming off the hill these days. Like,
unbelievable.
Every year it just seems to be going up and up, the amount of stuff that riders are learning from people and team staff that are up on the hill. It's
like every team now has someone on the hill, if not 2 or 3,
Yeah.
And it's becoming like almost a business in its own. Line spotting.
Definitely.
Don't like being called line spotters, do they? But
I don't know. They're clever people. They're clever people in the spotting lines. Yeah.
And they're really they're making big differences, I think, now, especially like as times get tighter. If you can find a line that's different and a little bit faster, it could win the race. So 100%, really important.
It is getting very tight. So junior career out the way. How are you feeling making that step up to elite? Because it's a huge step, right? And you're moving into the same category as Tahnée. You've got that added thing going on in the team as well, albeit Tahnée probably wasn't having her optimum performance at that point. Did you feel ready? Yeah,
I think as ready as I was gonna feel coming from junior. I had a couple of results in junior that I was kind of started comparing my times. So at the end of maybe year 2 in junior, you start comparing times to elite, and I was I guess the qualifying change as well. It's so it went from Red Bull to Warner Brothers in my
course.
changing year.
Yeah.
So we went from 15 girls to 10 and whatnot. So in a way, probably timed that pretty well. Like it's just completely different going into elite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of did feel ready. I just felt still really young and just keen for it. I don't think I had any expectations on myself. So I was ready as what I was going to be, you know, whatever was going to be in a way. I think as soon as I started, like you go in with like no expectations and you go in thinking, oh, I'm just going to try and qualify. And once you've qualified, you're like, oh, I'm going to try and get in like top 5 or whatever. And the expectation just goes up and up and up every single race, no matter what the result. So you start off with no expectations and soon enough, 2 or 3 races in, you're angry if you don't, you know, finish where you want to finish. So yeah.
Tricky one to deal with.
Yeah.
No, I watched a video with you and Tahnée, and she described your progression as maybe not that linear, somewhat up and down. And looking at the results from 2023, she's pretty bang on. Like it was literally like DNQ, podium, DNQ, podium. Like what was going on? Were you still working out some junior kind of behaviour or?
Yeah, I probably was. Yeah, and just I think I hadn't quite figured out like the pace. I remember getting into start huts and not knowing if I was going to qualify. Even after, you know, and that race I could end up on the podium or I couldn't qualify, and I didn't quite understand where I fitted in that elite women's category.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like the unknown, and me trying to figure that out was a big part of that first year elite. Not knowing where I fitted in, like, because you sort of look at a entry list and you know, like, oh, these girls are probably qualifying and these are the ones that are going to be on the edge and then whatnot. Like, you kind of can work it out, and I didn't quite know where I slotted in on that.
Which is fair because you're new in that pack, I guess.
So I guess that was me figuring out, you know, where do I belong in that whole first year, and it literally what happened. Like it would be didn't qualify, and then next week on the podium, and I'd be all confused, and then the next week I didn't qualify again. I was like, what's going on? Like, why can't I just be consistent? But yeah, that was that.
Is there a frustration that comes with that though? Because you're demonstrating to yourself and the team and the world that you're capable of being on the podium, and then you're getting weeks where you don't even qualify. Like how are you dealing with that?
Definitely is frustrating, yeah, and figuring that out was difficult, and I still am figuring that out. I still have races where I'm like, what is going on? Like I can be so consistent for a little while, and then all of a sudden it just goes out the window and I have no idea where I am, and that is such a frustrating process, and I think it's almost endless, that process as well. Like I don't think you can ever feel like you're a podium rider every week in, week out, because the sport is so inconsistent. And yeah, figuring it out is definitely a process. I think you can definitely become more used to it. Like, you know, you never don't see Bruni not qualify, you know, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah, that frustration definitely comes out. You can see it in like how we roll and stuff at the finish line of, you know, qualifying sessions or race runs, where you're like bubbling over with anger, I guess, at what's gone on. How do you find it hard to manage that and deal with that, like, and channel that into making progress rather than beating yourself up? Like, it's a pretty complex mind game, I guess.
It's so funny because I'll be in the off season and I'll be like, why am I so angry? Like that wasn't that bad. Then at the time I just can't control it. It comes out of me and I'm like, but that's just racing, you know.
You
it's
want
such
to
a
do
pent
well.
up emotion, and you put everything into that run, and when you don't get something out of it, it does sting. Dealing with the anger and the frustration is difficult, and I think when you haven't really got a choice but to deal with it though, because when you're on the road, you're doing one race and you just got to completely forget about it and go on to the next race. You can't keep that anger pent up because it's just going to affect your next race. And I think that's something I've really tried to work on. I think really using the team and using Tahnée and Chris and Tony to learn that process, and in the race week, really focus on the race week. But if it doesn't go your way, you need to be able to forget it as soon as possible, which sounds crazy because you put so much thought into this one run, and that you're meant to forget about it so you can start focusing on the next week. So there's definitely things you can learn from that frustration, and, you know, learn what went wrong. Like, did I get enough sleep? Did I eat the right things? You know, was I feeling prepared, and was I confident in the start gate? All that stuff, you know, it goes through your head, and it's almost like, you know, we can write things down and go through it with everyone and make sure that the next week we're starting on a clean slate. So yeah, it's just all a process.
Yeah. So is there a big like team debrief or like a personal rider debrief for you after the race, where you'll sit down with, I don't know, with Chris or Tony or all of you and go through it? Like, what does that look like?
So we started doing team debriefs like 2 or 3 years ago. So at the start of every week and at the end of every week and at the end of every day, we'll have a big one at the start of every week, going through the whole week. At the end of every day to go on to the next day, and then at the end of every week to go back through the week.
Okay.
And then because we have like 3 or 4 days in between races, either going back home or staying out, that'll be a good time to, within that time, we'll definitely go through it with Chris, how the week went. And it's not as if we've got to sit down and talk about, like, it just comes out anyway. You're with them every single day and you can talk for hours and hours about racing, you know. It's a passion. So I really enjoyed learning about my racing, and I really enjoy talking about it. So it's not as if I find it hard to go through my emotions. I really enjoy letting them out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fair. And do you get any external, like, sports psychologists or anyone like that helping yet, or?
Funny you mention that. I haven't started working on them yet, but I've got a couple of numbers I need to hit.
Okay.
It's been a bit of a hard decision to decide if I want to work with one yet. I think because I'm quite young still and haven't worked out in my head like what works for me. I didn't know if I wanted someone else's input in there to sort of affect that. I wanted to try and see if I could figure it out as much as I can myself before I start getting someone else involved.
Yeah.
But I do think there's definitely a time and a place for it, and I think that could be pretty soon. And a lot of athletes really think they're good, and it works for a lot of people, so it's definitely something I'd be very keen to look into.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to find the right one? Do you think they differ in their approach?
100%. Yeah, 100%. There's so many sports psychologists out there, and they have so many different ways that they think works. So, yeah, I think it's almost like a trial and error sort of process, and there's someone out there for everyone. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be good to speak to you in a year's time and see if that's made any difference to things. Because I think, I've spoken to so many athletes, and some people absolutely swear by it. Other people are like, tried it, didn't help me, move on, I'll work it out myself. And then other people just don't seem to, and again, this is just looking from the outside, but people like Jackson just seem to bounce, like they don't, nothing seems to get them down, or I'm sure that's not the case completely, but that, like, everyone's different, I think, in the way they deal with emotion and frustration and anger. And
100%. I recently heard of like an athlete that tried sports psychology and figured it wasn't for her, so she tried a normal therapist, and that's what works. So it's like because sports is such a personal thing and everyone goes through their own emotions, you got to really find something that works for you, because as you know, you'll see everyone deals with different things differently. So yeah, interesting.
So 2024 then, the season that we've just kind of calmed down from, I guess, ready for the 2025 season. And it started off with a bit of a change in the team, but only for one rider, and Tahnée had that new Canyon bike underneath her, which I think demonstrated that it was a pretty capable platform. Like, Tahnée's results were strong, Troy and Luca's results were strong on the same bike. Not that any of those are riders that don't deserve top results, but they'd all kind of had their struggles, and then they all seemed to come to form quite similar point on that new bike. How was it for you seeing someone in your team have something that arguably was an advantage and not have access to it? Yeah,
that was difficult. I remember going to the first team camp, and we had like timing poles out, and I was back off Tahnée, and it got to me like quite quick, because I'd had quite a good off season at home before then. I was feeling really good on the bike, and then you almost get together and expect to be feeling pretty good, and you know, the times aren't saying that, and it does really get to you, and the confidence has gone from like, this is going to be the best year I've ever had, and then just feeling like, oh my god, I'm back to where I started, you know. And like, you're like, oh, is that the bike, is it me, is it, you know, there's so many different combinations of what it could be, and the bike definitely was playing on my mind a little bit, but you can only work with what you've got, and at the end of the day, like, it does come down to the rider. So it's
hard, isn't it? Because that was the point where Tahnée was coming back onto song, I guess. So like, her pace has probably gone up quite a bit since she'd last done timing with her, and it's hard to know, but
it's like 2 in 1.
But things like that can get in your head pretty easily, I would think.
100%. And it messes with you. The off season is such a big mental game anyway, because you have no idea where all the girls are stacking up or how everyone else is training, and then you get together and see everyone again and get timing polls out, and that can, you know, really affect how the next few months go for you as well, because if you come out of that camp feeling confident, you might, you know, not really change too much and carry on, whereas I came out of that camp being like, right, we need to get stuck in here, like, you know, got a fair bit of catching up to be doing. So
yeah, you took some positive energy from it.
Yeah.
And I think the start of the season, arguably like more consistent than 2023 for you, but the highs were less high. So instead of like stepping onto the podium on a good week, you were more like 7th, 8th kind of part for that first half of the season anyway. Again, is it what's going on in your head? Like, is there a frustration there? Like, I'm executing here, but I'm not executing where maybe I would like to be.
Yeah, so 2024 was savage in its own way. I think 2023 with the roller coaster of like, not quality podium was almost like easier to process, whereas I was so consistent. I think I had like, I didn't get out of P8, P9 for like 4 races in a row or something, and I was like, I'm not really doing anything wrong, and I'm getting in the top 10. I'm getting points.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm
on
putting
paper,
down
it's
good.
good, right?
I'm in the live feed. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty well, but I'm just not moving anywhere. I'm not going up or down. I'm just staying in the same place. And yeah, really, like, that also messed with you, because you're like, how can I get to the next phase? I feel like I'm trying really hard, but I'm not going any faster. So
yeah.
It's just a different kind of frustration. It's just something else you got to overcome, and yeah, it definitely took me a long time to figure that one out though. And I think it kind of went like steady, and then we got to Andorra, and then it like,
Yeah, what went on in Andorra for you?
Oh, Andorra. Honestly, I can't tell you. I don't know what went on. Like 18th, and I was absolutely gutted. I was like, what is going on? I had an all right week. I messed up my quality when I went around a pole and like ran back up the hill to get. But you know, everyone almost qualifies in a world champ, so it didn't bother me too much. And then I just saw off the back of my race run, and I came down, and I was like, it wasn't even a bad run. Like I was
so
smooth.
you didn't feel like you were too far off.
Yeah, and like I didn't really make that many mistakes, and it was just another run, you know. And I came down, and usually if I have a bit of a crap run, I'm not too far off the back, and like, I'd probably be like, I maybe wouldn't qualify, but I wouldn't be like miles off the back. And 18th, I think, was my worst position ever. So in 4 years of racing,
Insane.
even my junior results, I don't think I was ever 18th in the elite category.
Yeah.
And I remember coming down and I went back to the pitch, and I was like almost just so devastated. I think I went for a pedal and phoned Bex, like Verona, and just was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, she was like, right, it doesn't matter. It was a bit, that one hit me hard, actually, really hard. But we were straight into Ludenville, the next week, and something just clicked. Like, I was like, right, got to figure this out and turn it around. I think the change in conditions was really good. We went from a massive dust ball in Andorra to torrential rain for a week in Ludenville, and that really switched things off my head.
Do you feel like you go well in those kind of conditions? Like,
yeah.
Growing up in Scotland, you're going to be used to mud, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But that was next level. That was a mess.
Yeah, it goes from, you know, every week you go into a World Cup and you have some sort of a process. You know, I'll speak to Chris and be like, after track walk, you know, this is my practice day sort of plan. And we went into Ludenville practice day plan, just like survive.
Yeah,
you know,
get through it.
And it was like a day of almost just forgetting we're at a race and just kind of having fun. Like, I enjoy riding in the mud and just trying to get down a hill. It's like when you ride plenty steeps after it's poured for a couple of days, it's the most fun you'll ever have. But it's more like about getting down the hill without crashing rather than going fast. And that was exactly what it was like.
Yeah. Everyone giggling at each other and
having a good time. And then we have GoPros from me and Tahnée's runs, and it's literally just laughing the whole way down. I slid like the whole way down the steep chute, like on my arse, I think. And it was absolute carnage. And as soon as Collie Day came around, it kind of, you know, you start getting into that race mode. But I think that almost like complete switch up from Andorra was really good for me, and feeling more like home. Mum and Dad were actually out for Ludenville as well, so I had a bit more of home comforts. Put the spike tyres on and had a good time. So.
And we had the cancelled practice session on the first day, so there was like half the amount of normal practice. Did that impact you in any way? Like,
not really. A lot of people were angry about it, but what are you going to do about it? You know, the track was really good fun, but it was getting destroyed, and they're going to do what they're going to do. I think the main switch up was not having semis. We went straight to the top 10 qualifiers. So that was quite a big moment, you know, having one run to get into the top 10. And then we had the red flag as well, which was...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
There was all
carnage
sorts
race.
going on that weekend. Yeah, like it was literally the most hectic of the year, maybe of the last few years,
I think it
as
was,
far as
yeah.
like the schedule being messed up. And like it went well for you.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? You had all that adversity thrown at you and you seem to thrive on it.
I think that's what it was. I think I just really enjoyed... It sounds like cynical, but something about everyone hating in the wet and the mud makes me want to thrive in it. And I think, and growing up in Scotland, you do have a like underlying confidence of when it rains, you're like, okay, this is fine because I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
If you don't ride in the wet in Scotland, you don't ride your bike at all. So, you know, there is this like inner confidence of, you know, we can ride in the wet, so it's fine. And I think that's what in Ludenville, and managed to get back on the podium again.
Yeah, fair play. How was the race run from your perspective?
Really good. The first one I was insanely proud of. Like some of my splits are real good. I think I got my first ever P1 in a split as well in my race run.
Whereabouts?
Bottom split.
Okay.
And then I was like 0.0 something off the first split win. And then Tahnée took it, obviously. I don't know how she did that one. But
fair play. Yeah, she went out for that one, definitely. Like,
100% fair play.
That was the overall for her, wasn't it? So I can imagine she went out pretty hot.
Yeah. And I was kind of gutted for after that race, actually. That's another moment, you know, it's one of us gets, it's my first podium of the year and my best podium result ever. And then my best mate is just lost the overall. It's like two completely different emotions and it's something you've got to deal with and then go back to sharing the same bedroom that evening, you know. It's like such a crazy sort of environment, you know.
How do you deal with that? Do you have to sort of dial down your joy and happiness a little bit?
Yeah, and just not be like overly cocky with it. I think we're both close enough to like, you wouldn't do that anyway. And I'll have weekends that are better than Tahnée's, and Tahnée will definitely have better weekends that are better than mine. Right? And it's just the way it is, and sport is so savage. So, you know, you can really enjoy those good moments and soak them in, but you know that the next week might not be the same. So enjoy it when it happens. And then I always try and enjoy it as best I can for when it goes well for Tahnée as well, because, you know, they feel it's good. It's cool. You can really, you know, I can feel happy as well because she's done really well. So, yeah. It is hard though.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's hard to keep that balance, right? Because there's a lot of, balancing out that emotion between everyone and remaining friends when everyone's having a very different outcome is not easy. Yeah, for sure. But I assume, carried some momentum from that, right? Because Mont Saint Anne at the end of the season also went pretty well for you. I think you went to US Open in between. Was that a good, like, not break, but like a non-World Cup with a lot of racing and a lot of stuff going on in between? Do you think that was a good thing for you?
Definitely, yeah. And I really enjoyed that week with the whole Fox crew and completely different track. It was really dry and sunny, and I just enjoyed having a good time. Did some dual slalom.
I was going to say you raced slalom as well. Yeah.
On like this like bit of a rundown bike. It was like basically an XE bike, and just ragged it around for a couple of hours and had a good time.
Have you raced slalom before?
Yeah, a little bit on Crankworks. Never really done that well, but I really do enjoy it. I always feel like I've been like a little bit hard done, and just slalom. I always get put against like the person who wins every single time. I think I'm really bad at qualifying in dual slalom. Okay, so I always qualify like near the like slower
so you get
end,
the wrong end of the pick.
And then like when I'm actually racing against someone, for some reason my speed goes up. Yeah. So then I'm like really close to getting through the next round, but I always like just miss out. But I managed to like stay in a fair bit for the Fox one. I really enjoyed it. Just something different to switch it up, and like it's just riding bikes at the end of the day, and any sort of riding bikes is definitely
and it's
good fun.
Racing with a bit less pressure, maybe. Like it's easier to enjoy, I would imagine, than being at a World Cup.
And like different kind of format. Had the whole shot as well, and just a different vibe going on, different people, and kind of more like a national feel, because there was like kids categories. It was a massive event, like so many people there, and Americans are amazing fans as well. Yeah, different country. Do
you think you'll try to do more of that? Because the American sort of like the Monster Series and things, like there's definitely some solid growth going on there, and can imagine them pulling some big crowds in for some of those events.
I'd love to. Yeah, I think the bigger and bigger the Monster Series gets, it could be really interesting to see how many races go off and race. There's so much prize money up for grabs. Like 15k prizes is really good in downhill. You know,
that's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up racing more of those races, even if it's like in between World Cups, because
Yeah.
I can't imagine we'd miss a World Cup for them. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be good to see how that develops. So yeah, Mont Saint Anne, talk us through it, because it was another good one. You must have come in a good mindset.
I love that track. It's I think it's my favourite.
It does look sick.
Yeah, that and Lunaville. So, yeah, it's unbelievable. Like the time of the year, like it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's like fall, so all the trees are orange. The dirt was incredible. Like Loamy, they had the new sections, which were amazing. Had a really good time to ride on my bike that week and managed to put down a run I was happy with again. Was stoked, yeah. It rained for finals day, so I think did it happen the year before as well? Yeah, it did, yeah.
Yeah, I think it did, yeah.
And that bottom rock garden, it's an absolute nemesis. Every single year I get to it and I'm like, oh, not this again. It's so, yeah, it's actually really difficult to ride in a way. One of the most difficult sections, I think, of the whole series, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A good, yeah, both proper tracks as well, like nice ones to get good results on, I would imagine. I mean, any good result's a good result, but it's kind of cool to do it on the more challenging end of the tracks, maybe.
Yeah. I think more MSA is flat out, to be fair, so it's not really true, but I was going to say the more slow and techy it is, I think I always benefit from those kind of tracks, just from, riding in Tweed Valley where you're riding slow and techy stuff all the time is
not really the way things are going, though, is it?
No.
Like, do you feel like we should have a bit more of a mixture of track types?
I'd say yeah, but only because that would benefit me as well. I think tracks like Mont Saint Anne look really good and are really good to race. MSA's probably got the best of each kind of riding. You do have the insane dirt, flat out sections, horrible rock gardens. You have got a bit of everything. I don't know. I'm kind of keen for everything. I really do enjoy tech though. Yeah.
Be nice to see more of it. So coming out of the season with a third and a fourth, does that put you in a good headspace coming into the off season? Does that make you hungry to work hard and get ready? And
Definitely,
then was it hard to have that knock with the wrist and to maybe not be able to keep that momentum quite so much?
Yeah, it's funny because obviously we knew as well we're coming into this off season with a new bike, and I said at the end of MSA, I was like, this is going to be the off season I ride my downhill bike the most. I'm going to go to New Zealand, I'm going to ride my downhill bike every single day, and obviously the complete opposites happened. But it is what it is. You've got to take it. And I think I'm definitely hungry for 2025. It's definitely given me a bit of a boost ending last season on a high. Perhaps, trying to link all that up, kind of take what I can from the last few races and put it into next year. So
yeah,
it
can be interesting to swing a leg over that downhill bike. You must be absolutely chomping at the bit to get a new bike. Haven't ridden downhill for what, 5 months?
Almost 5 months now, I think.
No way.
Yeah, I haven't ridden a bike for 4 months.
Wow.
I know. It's actually, well, I did ride my round on the road the other day, actually.
Yeah.
Still wheelie, which is
good.
Yeah.
Once you've learnt that, it never goes away, right?
But honestly, I've never been this excited to ride my bike. I think the most amount of time I've spent not on a bike was maybe 2 weeks. And so 4 months of no bike has been a challenge, but I'm so excited.
Do you think it's going to be hard to take it easy when you get back on one? Do you know what I mean? You might want to go all in pretty quickly. I
know, yeah. We have to kind of figure out a plan, I think, 'cause otherwise it could be too easy just to grab a downhill bike and go out on it all the time. I think e-bikes will make a big difference, riding them a fair bit, getting back used to the weight of it and using that as much as possible and getting lots of laps in rather than just going flat out a bit more. Get used to how it feels again. But I'm pretty sure I'm hoping I can bounce back pretty quick and it'll be muscle memory. So
good. I'm sure you'll be fine. Are you excited for the changes this year? I think there's some good changes in the format with the last chance qualifier side of things, and it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how the racing shapes up this year. I'm
really excited. I think there was Miriam did a podcast recently and said something really good, and I think I agree with it completely. It's, we've got no protection coming in now, and when you are protected, I've used it a couple of times and it feels amazing. You're you feel like you're invincible, and it definitely helps a lot, but I can't wait for it to be a level playing field and for everyone in the category to go in with it feeling exactly the same. I think it's going to change it up a lot. We've seen so many riders take protection every single race until the finals run. And I think, you know, the races I've almost not had protection have sometimes been some of my better ones, because you do have that added pressure and like you need to perform. So you almost try harder in the qualifying and the semis because you've got added pressure. So I'm excited for that to be, you know, equal for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. How do you feel about 3-person podium versus 5-person podium? Because there's definitely like there's a kudos that comes with it. I was on the podium, and then that you're getting that earlier at a 5-person podium than with a 3-person podium, and it maybe helps you develop your confidence. If your last 2 years you'd have only got that one podium in Ludenville, do you think that would have felt different to you mentally?
Yeah. It's really hard because part of me, has loved having the 5-person podium because I've had that like taste of a podium kind of earlier on. And then part of me is like, it looks professional. Every other sport almost is a 3-person podium. I think the main thing for me, I'm not as bothered as long as we still kind of get rewarded for the top 5. I think we, as athletes, the top 5 was like where maybe you'd get paid more if you got onto the podium. So like maybe your bonuses would be higher if you got onto the podium. And I think if we started seeing people, you know, if brands were like, nah, we're not going to pay you as much if you don't get on the podium, like I kind of understand that, but at the same time, like it's still a really good result, and it'd be cool to see like prize money and stuff like that still be, you know, like you should still get, you know, paid for what you did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Is it? How do you feel about seeing riders kind of dropping? Like we've seen Eris get injured out at Hardline. We're in that period for people that haven't been injured in the off season where people start getting injured because racing kicks back in and things ramp up. Like, is it hard for you to see that happening? Like, would you rather everyone there, or are you kind of like, well, you know, let them fall away? Like, it's less people in the category.
No, I definitely would love to see everyone there, especially someone like Eris, who I think was going to shake it up.
It was going to be interesting.
I think
I'm sure she'll be back, but still, not quickly, I would imagine.
I'm pretty sure she would have like shook the category up big time. I think we'd all be like, she was like clipping at her heels very, very quickly. I'm gutted to see her out for a little while. I think it's really hard because things like Hardline are amazing, and what Gracie's done, showing everyone in the whole world what girls can do, and
it's incredible.
She made that track look easy. It was really good to watch, and it's hard to see like people like Eris, you know, they're still pushing the sport to absolute limits, and obviously it's sad for her to come away with such big injuries, but I would hope that everyone would be healthy, and it's hard to see everyone get injured, but at the same time, downhill's a savage sport, and you know, Hardline's one of the hardest. It's called Hardline for a reason, you know. And I guess if you enter in that race and you get injured, then that's just the way it goes. And
would you be keen?
Well, I've had that question quite a lot recently.
Okay.
I thought about it a lot, and I think having Tahnée's obviously such a big influence on it. You know, I've definitely had that thought of like, would I want to do it? I think at the moment, I haven't got a massive fire inside of me to want to do it. And I think if I was going to do Hardline, I want to do it and complete the track.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm just not that bothered about it. And it's weird to say because I think it is such a massive thing, and Hardline's amazing and like a really good event. But I'm just like I haven't got a FOMO, and I've one of the like honestly FOMO affects me so much. Like I hate how much it affects me, but I feel like in the future I would be keen to do it, but I want to go into the event really wanting to do it and really having that fire to want to send it. Whereas right now I'm like, I'm happy watching other people send it, and maybe I need to tick a few more boxes off in World Cup racing and kind of get what I want out of that before I start looking elsewhere. And I'd love to go and do it and not do it half-heartedly, and really like try and do a good job, you know. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with
Which
that.
one would you pick, Medina or Wales?
Probably Wales.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought you'd go the other way.
Really?
Yeah. Medina just looks a little less arduous.
Yeah, but Wales
doesn't look easy, but
Wales has got something about it. It's Wales.
Yeah, it's
like
cool.
It's the original. It's horrible looking. You're on like the side of a mountain that looks like it's sideways wind and rain and massive jumps. I think for some reason that's just the most enticing, and because it looks so gnarly, if I was going to do one, I think it'd be that. And I do think it maybe would suit me a bit more. Like I'd probably enjoy the techie stuff at the Wales one more than I would enjoy like the flat outness of Medina. So
have you been to spectate there yet?
Yeah. Amazing.
Insane, eh?
Yeah, I
like
love it.
TV makes it look gnarly, and then you go and you're like,
I've stood at the edge of that road gap and I've been like, this is incredible. Like, I stood at the end of it. I didn't quite expect it to be as big as what it is, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty big. Like,
and some of the tech stuff that they make look very easy on the telly, that you walk it and you're like, wow, that's next level.
Like even that bottom section, like before you come out into the open jumps, those bottom drops, like they're so savage.
They're massive. It's a flat as well off those big rock drops.
Absolutely flat. Yeah, it's unbelievable track, and something I would probably consider doing, but at the moment I'm pretty happy with what I'm up to.
Got a solid focus on the World Cup stuff.
Yeah, World Cups and just having fun on the bikes. I haven't got the fire inside me to send it off for 90-30 yet. So.
Fair play. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, we should start wrapping up. We've got our final 4 questions. The first of those, if our listeners had £150 to spend to improve their performance on a bike, what would you recommend they go spend it on?
Most people say tyres, don't they?
Pretty common, yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely something that would improve your bike. But if I was to go a bit different, I'd probably say go to B&Q and buy a shovel and like a hoe and maybe like little pickaxe, double-ended pickaxe things.
Yeah.
And like go and dig some corners.
Nice.
If you're allowed to.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if you have got the place to do it and, a couple of mates and just... dig like 3 corners and just ride them over and over and over again, and then get bored and then dig something else, because I genuinely think that's like where I've learnt the most skill and learnt how to like almost like learn the most from such a small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So concentrated as well, I guess. Like takes like 30 seconds to walk back up. You can just repeat.
I mean, dig a whole track if you want. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
But like personally, like digging a few ruts in like a stubble field has been some of the places where I've learnt the most skill and spent the most time. So,
do you, with stuff like that, would you film yourself and then like review the footage and stuff a bit, or
probably just get clips and then
just for Insta?
I probably wouldn't like review it. I'm definitely someone that does watch my riding back a lot on video. Like if we get some clips and my body position's slightly off, I'm doing the clip again.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite like panicky. Is that the right word? Yeah, like quite like decisive about that. If I don't like a little bit of my clip, I'm doing it again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But that's cool though, right? You're learning as a result of that. Maybe the motivation is for the clip, not the learning, but you're still learning off the back of doing it. So.
And clipping, you get a pressure, which is quite similar to racing.
Okay.
You have one shot, or I mean, you don't, because you can push back up, but before you say, yep, come in, yeah.
That's true, actually. Yeah. I always feel a vibe when I know someone's filming or shooting photos or something that is different to just riding down a trail.
100%.
And much closer to that race, kind of like, oh, okay, I've got to perform.
Especially if you're like pulling a gap or trying to like look good in turns or whatever.
I'd never look good on a bike, but anyway. I like that. That's good. That's a good answer. We've not had that one. All right. Second one, if you could wind back the clock and sit down with yourself age 16, which is not that long ago, what advice would you give her?
I think, it's super easy to look back and go like, in those world championship races, like take it easier and stuff. But then at the same time, like I don't know if I would change it, because as I said, like you do learn lots from those races. I'd probably say go out and learn how to whip properly, because there's so many girls that are like 16 years old I'm so jealous of. They can throw insane whips, and I'm like, this is incredible. They're so stylish, like on all the jumps, and I'm like, yeah, this is something I wish I could do when I was now. I mean, you can still learn now, but I wish I could do it.
You'd be at the skate park next winter when you're not injured, right? Just throwing whips into foam pits.
Into foam pits, yeah, that's the plan.
Nice. All right, third one. If you could have a coaching session from anyone, past or present, who would it be, and what would you want to learn from them?
Oh, so many people I think are pretty cool. I think, as I've said, like your headspace is so important in racing. So I think Bruni for that would be incredible. The way he can go about, last man down the hill and always pull it off is so impressive. And I think that's almost like, there's so many things you can learn on the bike, but like really mastering the whole mind of racing is like really impressive. And that's something that, I would love to be able to take some tips off of that.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that with Loic is something he's worked on versus something that's natural to him, like whether he just naturally thrives on pressure or whether he's taught himself to. Because you're right, he loves it, right? Put him in the gate with all the pressure in the world on his shoulders and he'll go.
And like 99% of the time he'll perform and get the job done. Yeah. That's something that's like super, super impressive and something that I would love to... Yeah, if he could teach me a couple of things of what he's thinking of in that start gate, I would definitely take that. If on riding side though, Danny Mac, I think.
Yeah, okay. You got a bit of a trials kind of thing.
Yeah, and I just think he's so cool. He's kind of the person that got me into kind of riding in a way. Like,
really?
Yeah, like I used to watch his videos when I was like 5, like the one in Edinburgh before he got picked up by Red Bull.
Inspired Bikes. Yeah.
Probably my favourite riding video of all time. Like, I loved
incredible.
it. Like, I grew up in Scotland, so that was kind of like close to home as well. And I never really properly met him either. So I think he said never meet your heroes. So maybe he's like one I just never meet, and I think he's like a proper cool guy. So maybe just go for a ride with Danny and like get him to show me some tricks or something. I don't know.
Sounds good to me. All right, last one. What's something you do every day that you feel benefits you?
Sleep forever.
Okay, you're a big sleeper.
Yeah.
Like how many hours a night?
Like 9.
Okay, solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love just like having a deep sleep, and like I really value that. I think it definitely like affects me as well. Like if I don't sleep well, it's like one of the things that affects me the most. So yeah.
Do you work on that sleep? Like are you just naturally quite good at sleeping, or do you do stuff to help you?
I'd say I'm a naturally quite good sleeper. I think I can get like, if I'm stressed or something, it can affect me, but I'd say I am a naturally good sleeper. I want to have a little herbal tea before bed.
Little bedtime tea.
Yeah, little bedtime tea. And sometimes like set them down a little bit, but yeah, I do love a good night's sleep. Apart from that, use your riding bikes every day. It's pretty good for you.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. Nice one. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up. There's definitely a fire in there to keep performing on the World Cup, which is awesome to see. It's going to be a super exciting season of racing, no doubt. If people want to follow you, where's the best place for them to look?
Definitely Instagram, _ Phoebe Gale.
Perfect. We'll stick a link to that in the show notes, and we'll link up some of the How We Roll videos, because there's kind of one dedicated to you from last year as well, if people want to check that out. But yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming down. Have a wicked 2025, and enjoy getting back on the downhill bike, because it's going to be a special day, I reckon.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited.
Nice one. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye.